Hey Steve, I just wanted to give you a ground level tour leading up to the subject property that we're sending you information on, and some area nuances and exterior information. We'll have a link to a unit tour since they're all the same. I think that's the best way to show the unit. We did physically look at one today with the owner. This is the dog park that Sally mentioned. Athletic field, there's a swimming pool over there and changing house, lots of like areas to relax, and there's some investment going to happen up there on that higher elevation spot that I'm pointing to, that looks over downtown and has great aspects of the fireworks and such. But I'm only doing that to kind of show you, and it's kind of annoying today because they have construction going on. So hopefully at least the noise won't bother. But oh, by the way, you can see kind of they've got some site work going on the far side of that dog park. There's going to be a series of freestanding condo units that have a price point of about $2 million. Well, they start at $2 million. So again, it kind of piggybacks on the comment that I made about the single family home that Sally showed yesterday. And the apartment, 808 Winflow, is right behind this strip of townhomes here. I'll get to it in a second. But this is sort of legacy townhomes that have been well kept by owner occupants. You see a real estate sign there. These are essentially like one bedrooms over some common space. I don't know the exact square footage, but like 11 to 1,300 square foot. And this was a bidding war at $550. Underpriced, and I think it's going to be reflected. But then you can see kind of the newer stuff. That's the construction side I was mentioning, and this actually goes right behind the subject property, and I'll show you in a second. But that's kind of the caliber of construction. This is a duplex, believe it or not. Probably similar to what you might see more in Houston in some of the higher end areas, but just kind of a bulletproof duplex. I don't even know what the price points are going to be for that. But so Sally's going to provide some numbers, and this is a bit more of a, you know, there's a whole lot more to consider here. Is a bit more art than science, and you know, you can look at your sort of metrics that you've been looking at on other investments, but you know, there's a whole lot to consider here. And you know, the first is just continuing to cash flow and do what the current owner's been doing, which is, I'll show you in a minute, which has been, you know, replacing the windows. It looks like they're like one window away from full replacement, only because of a stubborn tenant. They've sort of selectively replaced some of the old siding for the facade to cement board to kind of give it a little bit more of an edgy modern look. Also handles the elements a little bit better. But, you know, we'll get to it in a second, but this is such a potentially heavy land play, and in 10 years could be a remarkable land play that, you know, this front pitch could, and this new zoning that we'll send you some information on, you know, would allow for somebody, I doubt you, but somebody who would want to expand the footprint up much closer to the street and possibly do parking underneath. Big project, but that's the kind of thing we're looking at. I say 10 years out, but I think that's even conservative. I mean, the numbers could really start pointing as early as 2 years, barring like a complete cycle collapse. But this is what we're looking at. That's really I don't even want to zoom in so you get a sense of what we're looking at. I don't know if it's better to do this, but just really fantastic unobstructed views of downtown, and the change in elevation puts us about roof level across the street and probably prevents any obstruction with any future redevelopment. So you know, you're looking at a spectacular downtown view altogether, no matter what kind of the future holds. So there are 20 units. There's 2 down here at the bottom, 2 up there on the top, and then there's 2 on the face. They face downtown. If you were looking for a smaller project, you could modify those with bigger windows, balconies, that kind of thing. Maybe if you were gonna occupy one of these in the future, that upstairs, 1 unit there, 1 unit there, kind of penthouse type units, you could vault the ceilings, create a balcony, connect the 2 units and get 800 plus square feet out of it, and make a quality, tidy unit. And like I said, I mean, you probably can't beat it for a walkable empty nester neighborhood, and then you'd have 18 units left to cash flow. Condo exit is not the thing. I mean, this structure is fine relative. I should probably turn it back this way. Is fine to continue to get rents and to make improvements to optimize those rents, but structurally, the era, some of the limitations with ceilings and kind of the lack of efficiency with the build, it just condo selling would be not the optimal scenario. I wanted to take you around the exterior of the building. You can see they have this low E vinyl windows that have been going in, cement board mixed with some replaced siding. All of the stairwells are steel. Some have shifted and need a little bit of help, but they've been doing a reasonable job of keeping it up. But it's, I don't know the exact date, but maybe 70s, early 80s at the latest, but probably late 60s to early 80s structure. I'll have to check that. Has and will shift around. These are expansive clay soils. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of that, but definitely the kind that I'm used to seeing with comparable properties in town. Just across the way there, I could probably, a block and a half is the property Sally and I were referencing. That's a $5 million property that was fifth of an acre and 33 to 3,500 square feet, depending on how you look at it. There's some, the updates that were made in the unit is they have put in a washer dryer feature in all the units at this point. So this communal washer dryer area could be converted. It's seriously probably the same as it was in the late 80s, but could be added as a small bedroom or study, and there's a storage to match that footprint upstairs, so that could be expanded. The roof predates the last acquisition, so I felt some granularity on the roof. He didn't mention any leaks, active leaks, but that would be at least 12 years old. There's around, the footprint is pushed all the way to the back of the lot, and I wanted to show you a couple of these things there's a retaining wall here that is, it's probably for 30 years has been shifting and moving. And when they refinanced this, I think 3 years ago, a lender mandate was to retrofit this with some shored up, retrofitted steel supports. So give you a sense of how these lots are all carved out. We could get more information on that spec, but also around the way in the back here, you see brand new flat work that kind of connects the back property line and the footprint, and that, along with this almost 18-inch thick retaining wall, was added. This is that triplex I was just talking about a second ago that we were in front of, duplex. And I'm sure that their motivation for that was to keep the water from saturating and adding static pressure to this wall. So they're routing the water around the building. You can see all of the 20 meters here. They're all GE boxes. And yeah, we're behind that row of townhouses that I was mentioning. You can see some of the older siding that remains. And, again, a lot of these are steel steps, but then, in the courtyard, they're steel, but they've had to replace some of these 4x4s. So they're just kind of, not pretty typical. You can see some shifting with the flat work, with some of our expansive clay. But by no means is this a teardown. And what we have to work with here is huge residual land value. And you know, if you have a vision and the numbers kind of work for creatively parking yourself as an empty nester up in one of these penthouses with the views of downtown and getting the rents out of each unit until some sort of exit if it was a redevelopment project. But also, it really can't be, I feel pretty comfortable in saying that you might get $3,000 a unit if you have the proper cosmetics and marketing and management. Maybe it's sort of like the model when you would arrive here, but to run this place as an STR, almost like a hotel, and do short-term rentals. There's such a great footprint for plug and play access to the city. And anyway, that's something to be considered, because I think that would, although it's hard to prove exactly how those numbers would flesh out, knowing that I own one, a unit that's comparable. I'm in my backyard just across the park, but also I'm aware of several that, you know, given the vacancy and the demand that we see in hotels, you would do much better even. I don't think it's the right time with COVID and all the restrictions and different things. It's a little bit easier long-term rental, but anyway, we'll be happy to chat more about this in detail. I just wanted to supplement this with some of the modeling that Sally was going to do, and the Matterport 3D model that we have a link to, and we can chat more if you're interested. Talk soon.